Today on Screener to Stream It, Queen Amidala hooks up with Poe Dameron.
Annihilation is an action-adventure, sci-fi horror movie written and directed by Alex Garland, based on the novel by Jeff Vandermeer. Vandermeer? Annihilation is rated R for violence, bloody images, language, and some sexuality.
Annihilation is about a biologist named Lena, a professor at Johns Hopkins University. She is depressed at the disappearance of her husband, Kane, who was in the military. He's been sent out on a mission like a year before, and she's been unable to get any type of information about him. This leads her to fear that, he wound up dead somewhere.
I'd freak out too. One weekend, while Lena is painting the bedroom, her husband mysteriously arrives, seemingly with no knowledge of where he'd been or how he had returned home. After Kane indicates that he isn't feeling well, Lena calls an ambulance. As they are being rushed to the hospital, they are forced off the road by soldiers in unmarked black cars and abducted.
So Lena learns that her husband was sent into some mysterious shimmer that has enveloped the countryside around a lighthouse, and that this shimmer is expanding, growing outwards. And several expeditions and drones and things have been sent in to the shimmer, but to date, Kane was the only thing ever to come back out again.
So, with the very real fear that the shimmer could grow to consume the entire world, a new team comprised solely of scientists is scheduled to attempt to investigate the phenomenon, and Lena volunteers, confident that she can put her expertise in biology to good use and save her dying husband.
Alright, so what are we going to rate it?
Well, we got together, we averaged out at 2 stars. I love a sci-fi. I love a sci-fi. And 2 stars?
Yeah, it just wasn't bad, wasn't great, had a lot of problems, lots of little problems, but those little problems kind of added up to, yeah.
I would agree with that. I think of the group, I probably liked it the most.
I think so.
And I guess if you want, I'll start with what I liked.
Right.
It had a lot of really complex themes. They were dancing around, hinting at, talking about. Some of them handled better than others, some of them mentioned in passing, but I always like it when a sci-fi digs a little deeper. Like, there's things there that are not obvious that you have to dig for, though there's so many little problems with the movie that I think that's going to be really off-putting to people who normally like that, because they won't take the time to dig for it. They're like,
I would see it. I think that was actually a negative,
really,
on my side, because this is a movie that seems to live and die by it's like that cerebral movie where it really hinges on that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is a very slow movie, which is one of my negatives, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it was building towards this great, it's supposed to be mind-bending, and you're supposed to, what's going on here? Didn't get that.
No, I'd agree with that. I guess the reveal at the end,
to me, this seems like the type of movie that if it was going to be a great movie, once the reveal happened, once the movie was over, we should have left the theater and spent, an hour going, oh my God, what do they mean here? And what is the significance of this? And what is that? And it was really one where we got done, and I think we had one line of, what was that? And okay. And I mean, there was no...
Then we immediately started talking about all the things that we saw that were wrong. In fact, I remember laughing out loud at one during the movie, and it was not a funny scene. In fact, there were no funny scenes in this movie, and I laughed at least twice. But I remember.
Yeah, that's not a good thing for a suspenseful thriller sci-fi movie with no comedy.
Now, that having been said, they really did not pull punches when they wanted something suspenseful and gross and just violent. Oh my gosh. I liked violent. The bear. Oh my gosh.
That was actually one of my, really good things I can say about it too, was when they did have an action sequence where they went violent, they went gory, bloody, violent. It went full boat on.
They let that happen and just, it was good. They surprised me because some of the stuff leading up to that didn't feel like they were there, and then so it was that was a shocker, and that was nice. But
there was, so along with the violence, there was one thing that genuinely, there was a genuinely creepy moment in this movie. And like I just normally don't get creeped out much anymore, but man, was that creepy. And that was a good thing. It's like, oh man, that's really creepy. But it was a very short moment, and it just didn't. If it had been a movie full of those moments, it would have been a creepy movie, and it would have been a good, horror. But I don't think that's where it really wanted to go anyway.
And even though they had the tags listed as a horror and thriller, it
just had a couple of horror elements.
It'd be light horror if that was the case, because it dabbled in it, but it wasn't, which is fine because that makes those punctuations really good. But then you've got the rest of the movie, and if it can't hold its own through the story or through characters you like, you get kind of lost. And we were a little lost.
I don't think there was any terrible acting.
No,
not really.
I love Natalie Portman.
She
was great. She really brought her A game. I have to say.
She did a great job with it. The problem, or one of the many problems, was the character development. Or the fact that there wasn't any.
Yeah.
And so the core of this movie is this group of 5 women are going into the Shimmer, which is basically it looks like a soap bubble.
It looks exactly like when you
get
have
that prismatic.
When you have a little oil on the sidewalk and then you get water on it, you get that shimmer.
So it's just a see-through, wall of this shimmery stuff, and no one knows what's going on inside of it. So the core of the movie is these 5 women going in this shimmery bubble, and nothing has come out. So except for her husband, but he's pretty much in a comatose state and can't remember anything. You can't tell him anything. So no one knows what to expect or what's going on. So they basically throw these 5 ladies together.
Yeah.
They meet each other, and in less than a minute, she's a nurse, she's an army, and they go through what everybody is, and literally someone's like, she's a nurse, she's a whatever. And then 5 seconds later, they're geared up and they're headed into, the Shimmer. And there's actually one more scene later on when they're paddling down a river in the boats, and one of the ladies is explaining personality of everybody. And that's it as far as character development for the majority of them. Now, Natalie Portman being the main character, Lena, she gets these flashbacks. She doesn't get flashbacks. The character, you get to see flashbacks.
I don't like it.
And they weren't good.
I don't like it.
And honestly, to me, it felt like tacked on. They got done with the movie and they said, oh, we forgot to give them any backstory, any character development. Quick, throw in some flashbacks to show stuff. But it didn't do anything.
It wasn't even 2 hours. It was a little under 2 hours, which...
And it was a slow movie.
The pacing was slow. I didn't think it was too slow, not for me. Any slower and it would have been for sure. But, I don't know, I am not a huge fan of nonlinear storytelling. I know you are. I can take it. I like it if it's done well. Very well. It's hard to do well. But...
and I wouldn't even really call this nonlinear storytelling. It's just flashbacks, and they jump back, and they jump back. But it doesn't really do the normal cues of, hey, this is a flashback, so I guess that might give it the nonlinear storytelling feel.
But they were obvious because of the locations.
Yeah, everything changed.
So it was really easy to tell when you were having a flashback, but it's still...
But they didn't do anything to add... In fact, they made me like her character less. And I'm like, oh, good job, guys. But we don't know anything about the ladies, and I just can't... If you're going to have a core group of people going on an adventure, I have to know about those people and care about those people. Especially in something that's supposed to be, have horror elements and be suspenseful.
Right. The more you like the character, the more scary it is when scary stuff happens.
And I don't. Lots of people die, and they, but it's just, there goes, character number 4.
Oh, no.
There's no story, there's no development of that, and it's not good. And I can't care.
Yeah.
And then what little character development we do, and like I said, the character development is pretty much someone going, hey, she's a nurse. Hey, she's ex-army. And then they don't even, their characters don't act like how that, oh, this is a nurse, she should react this way to a situation.
Right.
And she doesn't. Oh, she's an army veteran, she should react this way to a situation. And she doesn't.
Like when they get attacked by some random creature, she throws down her gun and...
She's supposed to be an army veteran. Someone's being attacked, throw down the gun and run at it. And it's like, no, it's dumb.
My favorite one, bad as that was, it was... You could make an argument for it. not a strong one, but the worst one where I laughed out loud. So it was at night. They were in this tower on an army base. So they've got a fence. They are in a tower, like 30 feet off the ground? They're way up in the air. So they're all sleeping in the tower except for the lookout. Where is the lookout? On the ground. Why? I don't know. So Lena goes down to have a little confab, so they're chatting for a little bit, and then they hear a noise, a scary noise. Something's in the fence. Oh no. And then what do? Everyone comes down from the tower. There was a staircase about this wide. That's the perfect choke point if you want to defend yourself in a tall tower. Why?
And a lot of things I could overlook. You panicked, you threw the gun down. Oh, you panicked, you ran out of the tower. Oh, they didn't really panic.
No, they didn't panic.
But again, she was supposed to have been in the army for 7 years prior to this. And they were all supposed to be very smart people. That's why they were on the team.
She should have had enough snap to tell them, up the tower, now. That's where they should have gone. Now, if someone had gotten, attacked on the way to getting up the tower, that would have been fine. That would have worked.
Should have been outside the tower anyways.
Well, I agree with that completely.
There was no explanation as to why they were a team. It was an all-female team. They kind of hinted at maybe a reason why, but they never really did tell us why it was all-female team. Mm-hmm. They did say there had been an all-male team, but, if you're going to have a team of basically military-type personnel going in, and it's all women, that's unusual, right? So what's the reason for that? I don't know. Didn't tell us.
The Army Amazon Cavaliers. I don't know. I don't think that's a real thing.
Another problem I really had with the movie. So, the movie's really slow.
Yeah.
The cinematography is weird.
I didn't find it weird. I didn't know we talked about that. Continue.
The pacing, which has its slowness, but the pacing is off.
Yeah.
The acting is off. But not... They did a fine job acting, but the characters are doing weird things and acting in weird ways. Now, I understand that they probably did this with a purpose, and they put these multiple things together to try to give you a sense of terror, of dread, to be off. Which would work, except I'm sitting there going, man, this thing's slow. Well, that's a weird camera angle. Why is she acting that way? And if I'm thinking that, I am no longer in, I should just be oh, I'm nervous, I'm tense, and then afterwards be oh man, they did put all this stuff in there to make me nervous.
Yeah, weird camera work is a great thing to do, but, and again, it didn't bother me, but if you notice it, that's one of those things, which, I don't remember if you liked it. I liked Unbreakable, and that one had some really strange camera work, but strange in a different way, because what they would do, they'd have a scene where they'd have just this wide shot, and these couples talking for, 5 minutes. And the camera is very slowly dollying in the entire time. So by the time the conversation's over, you've got this close-up, but you didn't even notice it happened because it took so long. And it really just gives a weird feel because instead of cutting back and forth like you normally get, so you've got kind of that pace, it just has a very slow, calm feeling to it. And that's an example of a good trick you can do.
I watched Unbreakable not that long ago and I did not notice any weird camera. But again, it's just one of those things. It's the magic of movie making, right? If you do a good job, I don't notice it. It's like CGI. If you do good CGI, I'm not sitting there going, oh, wow, look at the CGI monkey go.
Which I have to say, the effects were good. Mostly. There were a couple places that it was kind of, you're asking why. I was asking why.
It was also, I don't want to say nonsensical, but it was kind of a nonsensical, I don't think it's one of those movies when you walk out, you're not supposed to have everything figured out. There's supposed to be some questions. There's supposed to be some unknowns.
And there were several things that, one, didn't get answered, two, didn't even get asked. They just kind of showed it to you and expected you to wonder about it, I guess, because they never brought it back up again.
Well, and that's another one of those, things. It can be really good to have that. Donnie Darko is one of those movies that's really weird and, is out there. And I love, and there's so many questions, but, you can go have coffee with friends and sit down and ponder the questions.
Yeah.
I don't care. In this movie, I don't care. I questioned it when it happened, but it just didn't draw that curiosity. Maybe it's just because overall the movie wasn't that good to drag it out of me.
Yeah, and it's based on a book. I wonder whether the storytelling was lost in translation somewhere, because that happens sometimes.
Well, and
I kind of want to read the book to see, because
I'm wondering if the cinematic style overwrote some of the story. Hey, I know how to make this weird. I know how to make this.
Because the thing that got me was they've got this shimmer. It's been there for 3 years, expanding for 3 years. And they've sent in teams and drones and I don't even know what all else. They said, like, all this stuff, yeah, we sent all this in and nothing ever came back out except for that guy. It's the first thing to come back. So, do they just send people to the heart of this thing and hope for the best? Because that's what it sounded like from what they said in the movie. That is not the way you run an expedition. You do baby steps. You know, you go in, you do some tests, you come out. Analyze your data, then you go a little deeper and spend longer, and you know, you tailor the missions to learn everything you can, so by the time you're ready for the full run through, you do it as safe as you can. And they never indicated any of that sort of preparation.
Well, they say in the movie, we've sent in multiple teams, we've sent in drones, we've sent in all kinds of, nothing has ever come back. So what is our mission? Well, we're going to go in as deep as we can.
Yep.
Pilfer around, see if we can figure out what's happening, and then come back. And it took them, what, a week and a half to get to...
At least, to get where they were going.
To get to the middle of this thing. It is so big.
So why didn't they take a Humvee? Drive, it's faster. I'm just saying, that's what those are for.
Why? Well, no one had ever come out. They literally have no information about this thing at all.
After 3 years.
Yeah. Send someone in 10 feet, send them back out, get some information.
Yeah. And I wondered whether they're doing like a time displacement thing. I don't think so. I've decided no, probably not. Anyway, continue.
Well, but no, they had the time, like when they go into the shimmer, and it shows them going in from outside, and the next scene is them waking up, and they've lost like 3 days, and they have no idea what happened.
That was creepy.
Never explained.
It wasn't explained, but it was creepy.
And not only that, there was nothing in the shimmer and the secret of it for there to be time displacement.
Yeah.
There was no reason for that, and it wasn't explained. Another big problem I had with this was the scenery.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably going to be a take it or leave it. Like, some people are going to be like, oh, that was really neat.
My wife hated it.
I hated it. So in the shimmer, it's supposed to be all this magical, there's plants blending and mixing, and it's supposed to make all these beautiful, and I know, I mean, you can watch it and realize that someone shot this, someone sat there in the camera and went, this beautiful landscape that we're going to see. And it just looked cheap. It really looked like someone went to Michael's or Hobby Lobby, invaded the plastic plant section and went, oh, hey, we got a little jungle scene here. Just take as much as you can and hot glue it to everything. And the first 5 seconds, it was like, oh, that's kind of neat. And then after a while, it's like, I'm over that. I'm good.
But it's better than bad CGI scenery, so I'll give you 1 point for that.
It's all right. We threw the bad CGI in for other stuff.
And we could rag on this all day. But if you don't want to rag on it all day, what do you have for a streaming option?
Okay, so my streaming option is Ex Machina, which is an R-rated sci-fi adventure, suspense, thriller, all the lovely stuff you can throw in there. But it's actually by the same director, and it was his first movie. Came out in 2014. I don't think you've seen this one, have you?
I don't think so.
So Ex Machina, basically there is a Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs type guy, like multi-billionaire tech guy. And the main story is actually not him, but a guy working in one of his offices. Mm-hmm. And the guy wins a contest that they have to spend a day with the boss, or spend the weekend with the boss, or something like that. And they fly him up to this cabin in the woods, way out in the middle of nowhere, but it's this beautiful mansion, high-tech, everything you can imagine. And when he gets there, he hasn't actually won a contest. He had been chosen because of his expertise. And the guy gets him up at the cabin, and it's just him and the millionaire. And the millionaire has created artificial intelligence, and he has done it and created an android. And basically wants the guy to interact with the android and see if he can trick the android, see if he can trip up the android, and if he can't, would he, sign off and verify, hey, I have created artificial intelligence. And he wants him to test and make sure before he, releases this to the public that, hey, I have created artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Except you've got weird, eccentric millionaire alcoholic with his, very tech programmer guy in a futuristic house with androids running around everywhere. And it's not what it seems. And it's a very a mystery. It's very a thriller.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what's going on. And as it seems very straightforward at the first, that it's just going to be a straightforward sci-fi look at the cool tech, and then it just begins to twist and turn. And it is actually the reason I was really excited for Annihilation.
Yeah.
Because it was, a lot of people really, really loved it, thought it was a great movie. I did not think it was a great movie. I thought it was a very good movie. And I was like, okay, if the director can take what he did there and then just bump it one more notch,
Yeah.
like Annihilation is going to be great. And what he actually did was he went the wrong way. He went more with the visuals, I think, and stuff, and less on the storytelling. And I was a little disappointed. But it's a 2014. It has been out for a little while. Again, it's rated R. It's violence, nudity, the whole 9 yards, just like Annihilation was.
Yeah.
So, while the stories are not similar at all, the feel, because it comes from the same director, is very much the same, and I think it is a much better movie than Annihilation. So, Ex Machina is my pick.
I am going with, also from 2014, rated PG-13, Interstellar. One of my favorite sci-fi movies, certainly lately. Of course, it's the story of a pilot named Cooper. He got kind of, not really kicked out of the astronaut corps, they got disbanded because they wouldn't drop bombs on civilians. And it's kind of a future dystopia in as much as there's been a famine, so the world is starving, and everybody's now farming to try to grow enough food to survive. And basically the planet is dying because all of the crops that people can eat have been systematically killed off by this blight that is just mutating and killing everything. So NASA is secretly reformed by the government and charged with the mission to find a solution off planet. And Cooper ends up finding them kind of on accident. It's a weird gravity thing. You'll have to just watch it to figure that out because that's too long to explain. But he ends up getting enlisted to basically save the human race by going through a wormhole that's around Saturn and finding, hopefully, another home with which to transport humanity to. Great movie. It's a very slow pace, kind of like this one, but done much better, I thought.
See, I didn't even notice that it was. I wouldn't have told you it was a slow paced movie.
Well, I felt it was. It's a good one. But that is all our time for today. So thank you so much for watching Screen It or Stream It.
And remember, don't take your kids to the movies on Tuesdays because that's when we go.